the OnePlus 12R. One of my close friends online said, you know what, I think you need to review this. And he basically hooked me up with it. Rain, you know who you are. This here I picked up to do a review. I normally use an iPhone as my daily driver. I use it for recording purposes. However, I do have experience with Android. These phones are not hyper popular over here in the West. So I think it's an interesting product to cover because, I mean, most people lean towards, Samsung or Apple or whatever, kind of the generic, like obvious choices, whereas these type products haven't necessarily exploded into the West yet. So I'm going to be looking at it from that lens, and also the fact that I am a Apple iPhone user. I don't use MacBooks that often. I do on and off, but I am an avid iPhone user. I've been using iPhones for years. I have a 15 Pro Max, which is probably, I would say, probably the most Halo phone you can get right now. They're very expensive, and they are amazing overall, but they are quite expensive. So nice unboxing so far. What do we get here? This is supposed to be literature. What's this down here? What are you? Oh, cool. A C to A dongle. That's really cool. Very, very cool. I also picked up the case, by the way. So this will also be a first look of the official OnePlus 12R case. It was actually a really good price. When you pick it up with the phone itself, I got this with it as like a discount. I mean, this thing was surprisingly cheap. This thing cost me about 3 or probably 4 times less than my iPhone. Isn't that crazy? I mean, the iPhone's a flagship, whatever expensive device, but 4 times cheaper. I mean, we're getting into the point of absurdity with these iPhones being very expensive. It's nice, but nice thick cable there. We'll deal with that later. USB-C to A. Deal with that later. Huge charging brick. Wow. Doesn't actually say 100 watts. Holy smokes. They give you 100. Is that true? Yeah. Oh yeah. Look at the size of that sensor. Yeah, very nice looking phone. Very premium feeling. Okay, we'll give it the first look there. Right there. Very nice. Okay, so my first impressions, hand feel. It feels like an iPhone 8 Plus, I would say, in terms of the rounded bezels, whereas the iPhone 15 does not have that. So as an iPhone user, that would be it. Pixels as well. Google Pixels have rounded textures there, very similar. It's got a flat top up here, nice like cut metal there. Left side, same idea. So it is rounded, but then it has kind of a flatter kind of side there, which is perfect because it's going to be easier to grip. Some type of lock there. I don't know what that does yet. No idea. I'm going in here blind. Volume up, volume down, probably power on. On the bottom, also flat as well. That's kind of cool. I actually like that flatness of it. Set that up like that. Look at that. Look at that phone. Just standing on its own. Anyway, so you get probably speakers out because you get stereo speakers, I would assume. Right and left if you're using it that mode there. USB-C USB-C there. And then you get SIM card popper there. And then the back, obviously you get this very obvious cutout here. So rather than doing the iPhone style where it's kind of a clustered little thing, which is still a huge standout, this one here is kind of actually slightly flatter than an iPhone. By the way, I don't need my stuff to be always glossy. This has a very nice texture. It's still very, very, very smooth texture, but it's not that kind of sticky metal texture, sticky plastic texture, if you know what I mean. Like this here where it's sticky, right? It has a nice smooth texture, but it's not as shiny as well. And that's like, it actually has a very nice texture. It may not look as shiny, but it is actually very smooth. So very nice. Okay, so before we turn on the phone itself, let's open up this case because I'm an obsessive with keeping my products clean. So now we've done the first look, we'll open it up. So this has a nice texture, nice look to it. It's got a little bit of a texture. I can't remember what this material would be. It's almost like a, yeah, it has like a texture. You can hear that there, but it feels nice though. It's not gross. So it's not going to protect the front too much, you can see there, but there is a lip on the corners, right? There's a lip there and a lip there if you can see that. A little bit of a lip on both corners there. So in theory, you'll be able to set this down flat, right? So you can see that there, the profile, right? So even though there's no lip here, there is lip on all 4 corners. So technically, if you set this down, yep, not touching the screen, but you don't surrender a big lip around there. So you still get the rounded edge over here. So you get your rounded, comes all the way off to the edge there, it's rounded. So you may think, oh my God, it's exposed, which it is technically. If you sat something down like that and you sat that on there, right, that's going to sit on the screen. But if you set it like this, it's sitting on the 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of corners there. So that looks good. Nice lip there. So you can see if I set my phone down that way, same idea. We're not going to get... All right, so let's compare to my iPhone. This is the 15 Pro Max, so the current flagship from Apple. Probably will be for about 6 or 7 more months. It's a nice phone, you can see there. It's got the shiny black back material there, depending on what color you get. Big, massive camera bump out there, you can see, as per usual or whatever. Looks pretty good overall. Relatively small. So let's bring in this one here. You can see there, in terms of the height, very similar. Little bit more height on the OnePlus, just half a centimeter, 3-4 millimeters there. Slightly taller, you can see that there. Thickness here, the iPhone, not sure if it's actually thicker, but it's like squared off, you can see there, whereas the OnePlus is not. So it does feel a little bit thinner. Let's go like this here. We can check the camera bump height. You can see that there. I'm trying to get them as even as I can. I think the iPhone camera bump is technically higher if we set them flat. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit higher. May not show up on camera, but it's a little bit higher. This is the squared off style, more reminiscent of like the iPhone 4. Then they went with the round style like this for the 6 and the 8 and that. And I had an iPhone 6, I had an iPhone 8, and it felt more like this here. And then they're back to the rounded off style here. I don't really prefer one or the other, but it doesn't feel as rounded in the hand. Whereas, the rounded off style of the OnePlus here, or the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 6, this feels more like that, where it's a little bit smoother in the hand. It just feels a little bit more comfortable. Right, it's a little bit, you can see the same thickness and everything like that, a little bit taller, but the same thickness. This is squared off, right, like it feels very squared off, sharp edges. And then this is rounded, so this actually feels much better in the hand, realistically. It's just a rounded off, you lose some of the like aggressive angles of it. So this feels better in the hand here. That looks pretty good there. Camera wise, I mean, you get 3 big cameras there. They stick up quite a bit versus this thing here. I don't find one really more offensive than the other. I mean, technically the iPhone's kind of ugly with that thing there. It is what it is. I mean, these cameras are getting so insane these days that they just get bigger and bigger and bigger. It looks fine though. I mean, it's fine. It's just kind of like really like a giant aggressive thing there. This one seems slightly more integrated. There's more like of a presence of it because the overall footprint of it is bigger, but it just seems a little more streamlined, right? So if we put this case on here, right, so put on the OnePlus case here, the whole thing looks like a nice slim little package there. You can see, I really do like that, how the fact that this case comes right to the edge there and it actually allows the screen to go beyond it, because I'm not setting my stuff in a way that would set like that. It's going to sit flat on a desk, and it's not touching the desk now. So it's asking me to copy data from my old iPhone, oh, my new iPhone. Let's try it. Okay, so connect both devices. Okay, so let's connect the 2 phones. I love how the OnePlus is charging the iPhone. Look at that. So the iPhone is taking charge, and the OnePlus is charging it. Very cool. I'm not sure if that's bad or good, but it's cool nonetheless. Okay. Okay, I already said trust this computer. So it's asking me what to copy. Apps. Do I need to copy apps? Sure, let's let it. Contacts, obviously yes. Photos. I'm not going to do photos for now because I have so many videos and photos on my phone. It would take forever. Let's go like that. Oh, it has all kinds of stuff. WhatsApp, sure. And now you guys can see what type of apps I have on my phone. A and W. Don't know why. Some of this stuff is ancient. And while I'm transferring my data, I actually want to bring in an iPhone 8 Plus, I guess it would be. This is my partner's 8 Plus. It's very retired, but I sometimes use it to record as like a secondary device. But you can see here, it's got some design language of the iPhone 8 Plus. The rounded edges. Obviously, the cameras of back in the day were totally different. But you can see here, it's got a lot of kind of that rounded design language. It feels very similar in the hand to the 6 and the 8 Plus. I guess it would be here. Has the same type of hand feel here, right? Like it just feels nice in the hand overall. I guess the iPhone might be slightly more wide or something like that. And I have pretty big hands, right? So like I'm a large-handed human, not monstrous, but I have fairly large hands. I'll have no issues reaching the whole phone with a single hand. Okay, I've done the photo parts. Let's just look at the physical hardware. So what's this? Is this a lock button? Okay, so that's silent mode. So top is silent, like completely silent. Middle is vibrate. I miss this. It's weird. I miss this. Like the iPhone has this like, I don't know, whatever button. And the cool thing that I do with this is I just set it to camera. That's nice. I'm not gonna lie to you, that's nice. I really like that because if I'm just shooting, I don't have to like, if there's like an immediate something I'm like, I need to take a video. I'm just like, and I'm taking a shot, right? My dog does something cool. That's primarily what that's used for. But I really do miss that, and that feels really nice.
Well, 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 what do I have here?
Check the audio.
This is an RTX 2070, brand new, and it's 2024. Lenovo actually had this on their website. They were selling it. It was actually a really good price on the Lenovo website, 250 Canadian. New.
That sounds good. That actually sounds quite nice. Let's come in here and listen to a bit of music. Okay, I will tell you this right now. I do not like Apple typing experiences. I don't care what people say. I don't like it. I don't like Apple typing experiences. I don't know what it is about their keyboards. I just don't know. Like we come into YouTube here and, you know, I start typing something. I don't know what it is about the keyboard. Like, it's just really annoying. Like, I don't know. I make a lot of errors on the Apple keyboard that I don't make on Google devices. Again, I used that Google Pixel as like a secondary device for like, I guess, a year or so. It's just nice. I also like the little feeling when I'm typing, but okay, I'm gonna go like this so I can get stereo. Turn it up. Okay, go to this phone, iPhone now. Okay, so the iPhone sounds better. That's not unexpected. Apple products in general have exceptionally good speakers. Like, and the phone here is better. This is good though. This is really good, especially in a void. That's why I brought in the iPhone, because when I started listening to this, I thought this is a really nice set of speakers. I needed to gauge it against the iPhone. The iPhone does sound better. It gets a little bit louder, not a ton louder, but a little bit louder, and it just has a little bit more richness in the low end. The high end is fine. There's no tinniness in either of them. They both sound quite good, but those higher end, you know, this sounds basically the same as this. The lower end, there's a little bit more richness in the bass down on this phone here. I get as much surface as I get, and there's straight up bezel. You can see on the side there, right? And I have a protector on because there's a fair bit of bezel there. Like there's a lot of not screen there, maybe 1.5 millimeters. You can see here that like on this device here, there is nowhere that is basically not. Like you're basically off the edge of the phone. So the verticality, like it's gone now, I can't see it anymore. That's where the screen ends. So it is literally edge to edge screen. If you like that, you may not like that, you may. I don't think it's bad. You do have a bit of a rounding where some of the screen comes off to the side, but I could more than get used to it because it actually looks pretty good. So yeah, pretty cool. iPhone on the top, OnePlus on the bottom. The OnePlus might be oversaturated, maybe, but the iPhone looks undersaturated. The OnePlus here appears to be more saturated. The iPhone appears to be undersaturated, right? So I'm not going to say that the one is more accurate than the other. The iPhone actually appears to be undersaturated in some of the colors, specifically the red. If we come back, yeah, you can see there. The iPhone has almost an orange tinge, and this yellow is slightly off. I think the iPhone actually might be actually technically incorrect, right? Like it's turned bright. The brightness is turned way up, so it actually looks less bright, but iPhone just aggressively adjusts. The OnePlus, I think, is slightly oversaturated, specifically in the reds, but the iPhone is undersaturated for sure. So I didn't know you could do this on Android. This is sweet. Again, I'm coming in this from an like Android tablet type thing, not a phone. And you can have like picture in picture. You can't do that on an iPhone. You can minimize something. Like you can come in here. If you can come in here and let's say I have, I don't know, whatever, clock or something like that, right? And then you can go and you can have them suspended like this, right? Like that's fine. But you can't have like the game running in picture-in-picture mode. That's really cool. So that's another awesome feature here, that picture-in-picture thing. So I actually did a little bit of testing already, just basically to get some settings here. And honestly, I was able to basically turn everything way up. So I went in here to graphics mode. I turned everything to max, basically, so you can come in here and you can go highest, whatever. I think it says custom because then it went down to 30 FPS, and I said, come on, now this thing has this most serious SoC that you can get, I think, on an Android device, at least right now. So I put it up to 60, and it's running incredibly well. Now there is a mode here. You can come in here and you can go game mode, which you can enable, and this will tell you, you're getting 60 FPS. There's different, you can mess around with some stuff in your notifications and that too. There's different modes here like balanced, power saver, depending on what it is. I don't know if it makes a huge difference when you're actually plugged in, but you can see here, right, like there's different modes here, right? Touch response, all this kind of stuff. But I'm going to just put it in like pro gamer mode, which just basically whatever, just give it the best that it can. Yeah, this thing is running, like you can see here, like I can leave it open and you'll see here that it runs at like what I would consider lock 60. Dropping to 59 is still 60. That might even just be the sensors. So this game is maxed out now, running at 60, right? I am not like a huge Genshin person, but I've tested it a lot on different devices where, a non-flagship device gets smoked by this game, even in kind of relatively low settings. The fact that you're able to basically just max this game out is going to be quite telling here towards the performance of this SoC. It doesn't get hot actually, so I have it plugged in here. I've also tried it on battery, both. Of course, you do drain the battery faster if you're on battery mode, but when it's plugged in here, I'm not noticing any heat. Like I was playing for I'm probably, I don't know, 15 to 20 minutes into the game, somewhere around there. Yeah, and I just played the game basically, and I didn't get any heat issues. It wasn't burning my hands or anything like that. Didn't feel hot to the touch, so it's running totally fine. And this game mode thing, gives you some of this information up here. You can see that's the latency 38 to 31, blah blah blah. 25 degrees. That does go up. 25 degrees does go up. It sits closer to like 30 or something like that when you're in here for quite a bit. But yeah, it does quite well, very, very well on this device here. Significantly better than the Android devices that I've tested in the past. Yeah, it's obviously quite capable for gaming too. Now, when I do my follow-up, I will have my follow-up video probably, I'm thinking like a month and a half after using it. I'll be doing things like emulation as well. That's kind of my specialty. I'll be throwing some serious games at this for emulation and seeing how well it performs. And I suspect that it's going to do quite well because such a capable device in these very demanding Android titles suggests that it has the power to really push the emulator. So as long as the emulators are up to snuff, I think you're going to be able to do some serious emulation and gaming on this device as well. So, it's not like a gaming handheld, like, they sell gaming phones now, but I don't see why it's not a gaming phone. I mean, it's not getting hot, right? Like you can see that it's still sitting at look below 30, right? It gets up to like peak 30 when charging too. Like I'm charging here too. And that's after like 20 minutes of gaming or something like that. So yeah, it's very capable of gaming if that's what you want to do. And because it's Android, I mean, it's fairly unlocked. Like you can do a lot of different gaming tasks on these emulators and that kind of stuff that you can't do on Apple. So like I can't do emulation on my iPhone here. It's just not possible. I'm not willing to like jailbreak my iPhone, right? Like that's not something I'm going to do. So I'm basically locked into whatever native games where, you can play the same native games, and the iPhone plays native games incredibly well. But when it comes to emulation, it's off the table, whereas this is not. So that's fantastic. And here's just a look at some videos and photos that I took in a couple different scenarios. I went up into a mountain area, a resort, and took some videos and photos when I was there. Took both cameras with me, and we'll just go through them here together. Basically, my takeaway is that the OnePlus has actually a really, really good camera. The only negative is it doesn't have optical zoom. So if you're in a outdoor scenario and you're using that 5x zoom or 10x zoom, the iPhone will obviously outperform it because it does have an optical zoom. But again, we have to look at the value of the phone, the cost of it, the fact that the OnePlus just doesn't cost remotely as much as the iPhone, and it's doing so well when it comes to photos is actually pretty telling. So I initially anticipated doing a kind of just first look, literally like the day of first look, but I decided to take the phone with me to a trip that I went to Banff. I've been using this as my daily driver for a week now, a little over a week now, I think, maybe a week and a half. And I've been, putting it through the ringer in terms of just using it on the daily. The flagship phone, really probably on the market, I would say. I mean, maybe there's arguments for other brands, but I think this is probably like the flagship in terms of like pricing and mind share of being like the flagship. So I mean, there was definitely a little bit of, I guess, getting used to it, switching from Apple to Android. I've used Android before many times, but it's always in tablet format. Like I've used them over the years for testing purposes. I've dabbled with Android tablets for years, just kind of as a secondary device. I've never used it as a primary device, and I've certainly never used one as a phone as a primary device on a daily basis. So, I mean, yeah, what do I think of this device here? It's fantastic. I really like it. I find that if you're looking at this phone here specifically and you're comparing it to an iPhone, there's going to be some things that you're cutting out. The biggest one I'd say is the camera not having an optical zoom. So you have a 5 times optical zoom. That's nice because when you're zooming in just the 5 times, you get a little bit more clarity. I don't really notice it indoors, maybe because of AI upscaling and stuff on this, but when you're outdoors, you can notice it for sure on the 5 times scaler. Otherwise, the camera is fantastic on this. Like the standard camera is very nice on this. So that's really the only thing that I was missing out, I would say, is that 5 times zoom camera. But again, the 15 Pro Max is supposed to, in theory, is supposed to be like the preeminent phone camera that exists on the market, realistically, at a consumer level. The phone here is also 4 times the price of this phone here, literally 4 times. I think I paid, this cost me like 6 something tax in Canadian. This cost me like 20 something tax in Canadian, like 24 or 26 Canadian tax in. So that's like literally 4 times the price for this as this here. So that's, I mean, it's hard to compare an Apple phone to an Android phone normally, but I mean, just factor in the price, and the OnePlus 12R is a vastly better price, vastly better value proposition than the 15 Pro Max. There's a few nice things about the Pro Max. It has like FaceTime and that, which my family uses. That's why I keep this around even during this, and I tether them. I've switched back the SIM card a couple times. Focusing back on the OnePlus 12R here, this is a really nice device. It is super snappy, super snappy. Android itself is obviously very intuitive. It's kind of like an open source project that's been going on for years, like an experiment, rather than like the walled garden of Apple where you get what you get. Android is open. So, I mean, the companies who make the phones can really customize it to an extent as much as they want. And of course, people will eventually push back and be like, I don't like that. So the company will stop doing it. So I find it's very streamlined. It's super easy to use. This phone specifically, it's incredibly snappy. I've never used a flagship Android device like this where, you're getting truly powerhouse SoC in here that's just, going to easily match up to the iPhone here. So I've had no issues there. Video quality is fantastic. I really like the screen, the ability to actually change the screen here. I can't remember what it was under here. I've just been leaving it on kind of vibrant right now. Screen color mode here. Yeah, so I've been living on like the cinematic for P3 because that's like the authentic color. And I'm used to using P3 colors in general. Display P3 is what I use on like laptops and stuff. But if you want to go vibrant, like it doesn't look bad. It's just, it really makes the colors pop. This mutes it a bit intentionally because P3. You can go with natural, which is something in the middle. It's actually pretty close to P3. You can see that it mutes it slightly more. Vivid like pops like crazy. Brilliant is similar to that. But you can play with these things and you can come in here and you can mess around with this kind of stuff. So that's a really cool mode. That's a really cool feature there that I'm surprised hasn't made its way to Apple. Again, walled garden on Apple. This is super cool here. I really like this. The fact that you can set up your modes. If I'm watching certain shows or playing games, maybe if I'm playing a game I want brilliant, I want to just pop off the screen. And if I'm watching like a show or something, I want the natural colors that the person who made that show probably wanted it to be viewed in. You throw it in a mode like that. Okay, no corners cut on here. Whether you like Android or Apple, whatever, that's your thing. Does this here? This is like 600 something Canadian dollars with a case included. Like I paid for this. It didn't come with it. I bought it because you get a discount when you buy the case with it. I think it was like 50% off or something. So I think, if you're looking to not spend a ton of money, you want to get yourself an Android phone that I would consider a flagship Android phone. It's not going to compete in some cases with, like a 15 Pro Max in terms of like, it doesn't have an optical camera that shoots at 40 megapixels and has, optical zoom at 5 times. Yeah, but it's also 4 times less expensive. So there's a couple things here and there that you might be, saying, well, that's not on there anymore, but you saved 4 times your money back, and you're really not compromising. I had no issues with the camera. Screen is gorgeous on this device here. It's super, super snappy. Audio is very good for an Android device. It's not quite as nice as my 15 Pro Max, but it's better than the Pixel that I was using for sure, and better than like some tablets and that I've used. So it's really, really nice. And overall, it's just a fantastic device. And most importantly, the price. I'm a price guy. I'm not going to tell people, oh, go out and buy the device that is $7,000 because I'm a creator and that's what I use. No, people aren't going to do that. This thing is dirt cheap. This thing cost me under $700 tax in Canadian. I don't even know what that is in American. $500 or something like that in American dollars with a case. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer if you're looking at an Android device. So if you're interested in Android devices, I have absolutely no affiliation with this company whatsoever. I don't even know where they are located, where they're operating. I don't know anything about them other than the fact that I had someone who said, buy this phone and review it. And so I said, okay. And so I did that. And I'm very impressed with it, especially as someone who's been a long-term Apple user. So yeah, fantastic device. I'll see you guys in probably about a month with a follow-up to this.